This work examines the remarkable diversity of the human condition through the lens of 10 extraordinary individuals. By redefining the limits of biological and intellectual normality, these personalities invite us to reconsider the extent of universal human potential. Number 10. Philippe Petit, the architect of the void. August 7th, 1974, is a date etched in the history of audacity. That morning, Manhattan passers-by stopped, frozen in place. At a height of 411 meters, a silhouette seemed to float between the tops of the twin towers of the World Trade Center. That man was Philippe Petit. To understand the magnitude of this feat, one must look beyond the physical performance. Petit spent 6 years planning what he called his artistic crime. He studied the oscillations of the towers, clandestinely entered the buildings with a team of accomplices, and used a bow and arrow to fire the first lead line, all to offer the world 45 minutes of pure poetry on a steel cable barely 2 centimeters wide. What makes Petit unique is his total refusal of safety. No net, no harness. For him, death is part of the artistic equation. Without it, the act loses its transcendent dimension. His journey reminds us that fear is not an obstacle, but a signal. By training for years between 2 trees in the French countryside, he learned that balance is not a static state, but a constant negotiation with chaos. His legacy is an invitation to walk our own tightrope, whatever it may be, with grace and determination. Number 9. William James Sidis, the child of the century of the mind. Born in New York in 1898, William James Sidis is often cited as the most intelligent human being to ever walk this earth. With an estimated IQ between 250 and 300, Sidis shattered all records of precocity. At 18 months old, he was reading the New York Times. By age 8, he was fluent in 8 languages, including Latin, Greek, Russian, and French, and he even took the liberty of inventing his own language, Vandergood. His admission to Harvard at the age of 11 remains one of the most striking moments in American academic history. Imagine a child giving a lecture on 4-dimensional bodies before an assembly of stunned professors. Yet, Sidis's life is also a modern Greek tragedy. Pushed by parents obsessed with intellectual success, he eventually rejected the academic world to seek anonymity. Sidis spent his adult life collecting streetcar tickets and writing books under pseudonyms, exploring fields as varied as Native American history and thermodynamics. His case raises fundamental ethical questions about the education of child prodigies. Is extreme intelligence a gift or a burden that isolates the individual from the rest of humanity? Despite his solitary end, he remains shining proof of the human brain's almost infinite processing capacity. Number 8. Natalia Demkina, the human scanner. In a small town in Russia, a teenager named Natalia Demkina became a global celebrity for a reason that defies physics. She claims to possess a vision capable of penetrating organic matter. Appearing after an appendix operation, this ability supposedly allows her to see a person's organs like on an anatomical chart. Natalia's case has divided the scientific community. In 2004, she was invited to London and then to New York to undergo tests under the aegis of skeptical research committees. While the results were mixed, with some diagnoses proving correct and others erroneous, the interest lies in the precision of certain observations that a person without medical training could not normally guess. Beyond the controversy, Natalia embodies the mystery of perception. Is it possible that certain individuals possess a form of biological hyperempathy or visuospatial synesthesia, allowing them to feel or see thermal or vibrational anomalies in the bodies of others? Although modern science has no definitive answer, Natalia continues to exercise her gift, reminding us that our understanding of the human senses is still evolving. Number 7. Elisabeth Solser, reality in colors and flavors. Elisabeth Solser does not see the world as we do. For this accomplished musician, every musical note instantly triggers a gustatory and visual experience. This is called synesthesia, but in her case, it is an extremely rare and complex form. When she hears a C major chord, she doesn't just perceive harmony, she can see an explosion of bright red and feel the sweet taste of cream on her tongue. For Elizabeth, the world is a permanent symphony. This neurological peculiarity is due to an unusual wiring of the brain, where the areas responsible for hearing, vision, and taste communicate in a cross-wired manner. However, living with such a gift is a constant challenge. In a noisy environment, sensory overload can become unbearable, with every horn or street cry turning into a visual flash or an unpleasant taste. Elizabeth learned to channel this richness into her music, creating compositions of unique emotional depth. She offers us a fascinating perspective on the subjectivity of reality. If our brains were all wired differently, we simply would not live in the same universe. Number 6. Julia Guntel. Flexibility to the extreme. Julia Guntel, known by the stage name Zlata, is a force of nature who seems to have been sculpted out of rubber. A world-class contortionist, she possesses a physical peculiarity confirmed by MRI scans. Her tendons and ligaments retain the flexibility of a newborn, even in adulthood. Zlata can fold herself in half backward, touching her feet to her head to form a perfect circle, or fit into a box barely 50 centimeters wide. But make no mistake, this is not just a gift from birth. It is the result of almost monastic discipline. She trains several hours a day to maintain her muscle strength, because, without powerful muscles, such flexibility could break her bone structure. Her artistic performances are living studies of the mechanical resilience of the human body. She shows us that anatomy is not a rigid prison, but a malleable structure capable of reaching peaks of elegance and strength. She is the perfect example of the symbiosis between a rare genetic predisposition and a will of iron. Number 5. Paul Carasson, The Legacy of the Blue Man. Paul Carasson's story went viral in the mid-2000s, not for a talent, but for a spectacular physical metamorphosis. Suffering from various health problems, Paul began consuming colloidal silver, an ancestral remedy he made himself. Over several years, silver particles deposited in his skin tissues. Under the effect of sunlight, a chemical reaction similar to that used in silver-based photography occurred. His skin turned cobalt blue. This condition, argyria, is permanent. Paul became a global curiosity, often nicknamed Papa Smurf by the media, a nickname he accepted with bitter resilience. Beyond the visual aspect, Paul's story is a powerful reminder of the interaction between our bodies and the chemical environment. It highlights the dangers of self-medication, but also bears witness to the dignity of a man who, despite a radical change in appearance that destroyed his initial social life, continued to seek his place in the world until his death in 2013. His case remains etched in medical annals as one of the most striking examples of acquired pigmentary modification. Number 4. Kathleen Silva de Jesus, The Beauty of Azure Eyes. In the favelas of Rio de Janeiro, the fate of Kathleen Silva de Jesus changed thanks to a rare genetic mutation. This young black girl possesses electric blue eyes so intense they look computer-enhanced. This peculiarity is due to Waardenburg syndrome, which affects the pigmentation of the skin, hair, and eyes. For a long time, Kathleen and her family were looked upon with suspicion, with some seeing it as a sign of poor health. But the fashion world saw something else entirely, a revolutionary beauty. Today, Kathleen is a rising icon, using her hypnotic gaze to break the codes of the luxury industry. Her story is a message of hope about self-acceptance. She proves that what is perceived as an anomaly can become a strength and a symbol of pride. Kathleen is not content with just being beautiful. She carries within her the genetic diversity of humanity, reminding us that our species is a kaleidoscope of unexpected colors and shapes. Number 3. Winnie Harlow, the Vitiligo Manifesto. Winnie Harlow is not just a world-renowned model. She is an activist who has changed the face of fashion. Suffering from vitiligo, a condition where the immune system attacks melanocytes, the cells that produce skin color, she has symmetrical depigmentation patches all over her body. Winnie's journey was fraught with obstacles. During her childhood, she was a victim of violent school bullying, with some of her classmates calling her the cow or the zebra. These traumas could have broken her, but Winnie chose to use her difference as a banner. Spotted by Tyra Banks on Instagram, she joined the show America's Next Top Model, launching a meteoric career. Winnie Harlow forced major brands to rethink their standards of perfection. By walking for Victoria's Secret or posing for Vogue, she showed that skin doesn't need to be uniform to be perfect. Her success is a victory of psychological resilience over social prejudice. She reminds millions of people affected by skin disorders that their skin is a unique canvas that tells a story of survival and beauty. Number 2. Yoriza Oliva, the ordeal of blood tears. Yoriza Oliva, a young Chilean woman, lives a medical nightmare that seems straight out of a medieval tale. Several times a day, her eyes fill with a red fluid, and she literally cries blood. This phenomenon, hemolacria, is extremely rare and leaves doctors in a diagnostic impasse. Each episode is accompanied by a stinging pain, as if a red-hot iron were burning her tear ducts. Despite dozens of exams, scans, blood tests, hormonal tests, no abuse cause has been found. Some cases of hemolacria are linked to tumors or coagulation problems, but for Yoriza, the mystery remains total. Her life is a struggle for normality. She must live with the constant fear of a crisis in public, facing the frightened stares of passers-by. Her case highlights the limits of modern science and the suffering of those affected by orphan diseases. She embodies the fragility of the human body and the need for medical research that leaves no one behind, even in the face of the inexplicable. Number 1. Liu Taolin, the adhesion force of Magneto. At the top of our list is Liu Taolin, a Malaysian man who seems to possess a magnetic power worthy of science fiction. Liu is capable of holding heavy metal objects on his torso or arms, spoons, axes, and even steel plates weighing several kilograms. Although the public nicknamed him the Magnet Man, scientists who studied him discovered an even more fascinating truth. There is no magnetic field emanating from his body. Instead, his skin possesses a unique texture and exceptionally high friction levels. Essentially, his skin acts like a giant suction cup, thanks to a unique epidermal structure that creates an incredible adhesion force. Liu has even managed to pull a car attached to a metal plate placed on his stomach. This phenomenon illustrates how a simple variation in tissue structure, the skin in this case, can confer abilities that seem supernatural. Liu Taolin is living proof that physics and biology can combine to create macroscopic phenomena that defy our daily intuition about what the human body can carry. Number 11. The augmented human and the art of the future. To conclude this panorama, we must evoke the impact of new technologies. Today, thanks to artificial intelligence and digital manipulation, we can visualize forms of human life that do not yet exist. These augmented portraits that we sometimes see on virtual runways or in digital artistic creations prepare us for a future where biology could be modified by technology. These images question us. How far will we go to modify our appearance or our capacities? Digital art is no longer just fiction. It is a laboratory of ideas for the evolution of tomorrow. In conclusion, in these 10 and 11 portraits, we see that the human being is not a fixed entity. We are a species in motion, defined by our exceptions as much as by our commonalities. Whether these abilities are the result of genetic chance, extreme training, or a medical mystery, they remind us that normality is a relative notion. These individuals push us to look at our own bodies and our own minds with new respect. They are the pioneers of a vaster understanding of ourselves. By celebrating their difference, we celebrate the infinite richness of life. And you, what is the capacity or characteristic that makes you unique? Because in the end, in a world of 8 billion individuals, being the exception is perhaps the only thing we truly have in common.